On every NFL leaderboard, Deacon Jones, the man who invented the sack, appears to have 0. Yet today, the term he created fuels $100 million contracts and drives the sport's analytics obsession. How did the most devastating pass rusher in history become invisible in the very economy he founded? The answer starts with the official records and the high-stakes erasure at the heart of football's most absurd paradox. NFL teams now invest more money in sacks than almost any other defensive measure. Since 2021, at least 5 edge rushers have signed contracts topping $100 million. Nick Bosa's record-setting $170 million extension with San Francisco came after he led the league with 18.5 sacks. T.J. Watt tied the single-season sack record and secured $112 million from Pittsburgh. Myles Garrett, with back-to-back 16-sack seasons, locked in $125 million from Cleveland. These contracts consume up to 15% of a team's annual salary cap, a staggering share for a single player on defense. The value of a sack ripples far beyond the field. Every major broadcast flashes sack totals alongside player names, and every fantasy football league, from office pools to national tournaments, awards points for each quarterback takedown. Sacks now anchor defensive rankings, drive highlight reels, and shape the careers of pass rushers. Incentive clauses and contracts pay out hundreds of thousands for hitting double-digit sack marks, turning a single stat into a direct pipeline for wealth and status. Behind the scenes, analytics departments crunch sack data to decide draft picks, free agent signings, and even coordinator jobs. Front offices and agents treat the sack as a currency, an official number that can make or break negotiations. The entire ecosystem, from TV graphics to endorsement deals, orbits around this one metric. Yet the man who named it, who once terrorized quarterbacks on live television, remains a ghost in this billion-dollar marketplace. His numbers are missing from every leaderboard, even as the stat he invented sits at the center of football's economy. Scan the all-time NFL sack leaderboard and a strange emptiness appears. Empty Bruce Smith, Reggie White, Kevin Green, names stacked atop staggering numbers. The columns march down the screen, each entry a badge of quarterback destruction, but the space where Deacon Jones should be is blank. Officially, the record books say he never brought down a single passer. 0 sacks. His name, so often shouted in highlight reels and whispered by offensive linemen, is missing from the very list he inspired. 0 sacks. Modern stars chase the sack title Jones invented, their careers measured in the currency of that single, devastating play. The NFL's own graphics flash leaderboards every Sunday, counting up the milestones, handing out awards, and rewriting contracts. Yet the man who coined the word, who terrorized quarterbacks before most of today's leaders were born, is nowhere to be found. Nowhere. The league records begin in 1982. Everything before that is considered unofficial, a footnote, a curiosity. Deacon Jones, third most sacks by any count, the first to make the sack a spectacle, stands erased by a technicality. Technicality. The absence is more than a clerical oversight. It is a question pulsing beneath the surface. How did the most feared pass rusher of his era, the very architect of the sack, become invisible in the sport's most celebrated statistic? Invisible. The answer lies not in the numbers, but in the story of a man who refused to be forgotten, even as the system tried to write him out. Refused. David Jones was born in Eatonville, Florida, in 1938, a town built by and for black families, offering a rare sense of community in the segregated South. His childhood unfolded under the weight of Jim Crow. At 14 years old, he watched a carload of white teenagers kill an elderly black woman with a watermelon, then drive off laughing. No one was held accountable. That memory burned into him, fueling a drive to define himself on his own terms. He found both solace and release in football, a game where anger could become action and rules, at least for a moment, seemed fair. At Hungerford High, Jones stood out not just for his size and speed, but for his refusal to accept limits others set for him. His path to college was cut short when he lost his scholarship at South Carolina State in 1959 for joining a civil rights protest. He refused to apologize, transferring instead to Mississippi Vocational College, another small black school overlooked by most scouts. Even there, his play demanded attention, but racism and the stigma of a tiny program kept his name off the big boards. When the National Football League draft came in 1961, he was the 186th pick, buried in the 14th round, a long shot by any measure. On the flight to Los Angeles for his first press conference, a fellow passenger told him, "No one will remember a player named David Jones." So when the cameras rolled, he introduced himself as Deacon. The name carried weight, part preacher, part showman, part warning. He understood the power of identity, how a single word could cut through the noise and stick in the mind. In a world that tried to erase or ignore him, Deacon Jones wrote his own headline and dared everyone else to remember. At 6'5" and 272 pounds, Deacon Jones was built for destruction. What set him apart was not just size or speed, though his 4.5-second 40-yard dash was unheard of for a lineman. It was the way he weaponized his hands. The head slap, a move he learned from Rosie Greer but perfected on his own, became his signature. With one explosive strike to the side of a blocker's helmet, Jones triggered a blink, a stumble, a moment of blindness. That was all he needed. He would flash past before the quarterback could react, collapsing the pocket from the left edge, always in the quarterback's line of sight, never out of mind. Offensive linemen scrambled for answers. Bob Brown, a Pro Bowl tackle, once replaced the screws in his helmet with long, sharpened spikes, hoping to make Jones think twice. Jones slapped him anyway, impaling his own hand clean through. He finished the drill, blood running down his arm, and laughed it off. Teammates called it toughness. Opponents called it terror. In 1967, Jones delivered the greatest pass-rushing season football had ever seen. Unofficial tallies from film and play-by-play show 21.5 sacks in just 14 games, a number that would have stood as the single-season record for decades if the National Football League had recognized it. Reporters ran out of adjectives. Jones, never shy, described it himself. "Sacking a quarterback is just like you devastate a city. You put all the offensive players in one bag and I just take a baseball bat and beat on the bag." His dominance forced a reckoning. By the mid-1970s, the league faced mounting evidence of concussions and head injuries linked to the slap. In 1977, the National Football League banned the move entirely. The technique that had made Jones unstoppable was erased from the rulebook, a testament to its impact and to the fear he inspired in every offense he faced. In 1982, the NFL drew a line in the record book. Sacks became an official statistic, but only from that season forward. Everything before was left to historians and film study. Every quarterback Jones dragged to the turf, every pocket he collapsed. Researchers spent decades combing through grainy footage and handwritten play-by-play, reconstructing Jones's career total at 173.5 sacks, a number that would place him third all-time. The league, citing gaps in historical records and the need for consistent data, refuses to certify any totals from before 1982. Their stance is simple. If it was not tracked then, it does not count now. So the official leaderboards remain unchanged, and Jones's achievements are labeled unofficial, a technicality that keeps his name out of the history he helped create. Recognition arrived, even if the record books refused to keep pace. In 1980, Deacon Jones was enshrined in the Pro Football Hall of Fame, the only 14th round pick ever to receive that honor. His impact stretched far beyond the field. He became a familiar face on television with appearances on The Brady Bunch and Bewitched, and he lent his booming voice to commercials as a Miller Lite spokesman. Legacy continued. In 2013, the National Football League created the Deacon Jones Award, given each year to the league's top sack artist, a nod to the statistic he named and the standard he set. That same year, Jones died at 74, leaving behind a foundation in his name and a legacy that refuses to fit inside any column of numbers. Today, every NFL sack fuels million-dollar contracts, yet the man who coined the term is absent from the official record. As the league builds its legacy on numbers, Deacon Jones remains proof that greatness can be measured but not always counted. Some legends outgrow the stats that define them.